Hello and welcome to Divinely Empowered with Antonia. Today we have Raymond Keller. Raymond is a ufologist who's been in the field since 1967, and he's one of the few people to actually have visited Venus. It's a very exciting interview, so stay tuned. So welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Antonia. It's a privilege to be on your program.
Thank you so much. Right, my goodness. This is an unusual interview. I met Raymond when I was in America at the Mount Shasta conference, The Promise Revealed. And he's an inspiring, amazing human. And I've just got some questions because holy smokes, this man went to Venus for 2.5 months. He's had UFO contacts since the beginning. He was in the National Enquirer in 1967. He has a lot of experience in this in the UFO field and with actual extraterrestrials. He's written a number of books. How many books, Ray, have you written?
12 so far.
12 books. And his most recent one is talking about aliens living among us. So we're going to be talking about that and loads of different questions. So, goodness, it's a very, very exciting interview, Ray. So, when was your first Venusian contact? Who was it with and what happened and how did it all start? Start at the beginning with the Venus connection, please.
Oh, okay. The Venus connection actually came 20 years after I was in the field of ufology. I was in Mount Shasta up in California where we just shared a wonderful summer with all the metaphysical people gathering there from around the world. And I went there during the harmonic convergence, 1987.
Sorry, pause 1 second. Continue.
Okay. Yes. So 1987 in Mount Shasta, and I was on a pilgrimage there with one of the chapters of our UFO group called OSIRIS, Outer Space International Research and Investigation Society. We have 14 chapters around the world. And our Salt Lake City chapter wanted to go following Clayton Parker, a gentleman who is 87 years old, to Mount Shasta. And he said that he had been in communication with the Ascended Masters while he was at Mount Shasta and invited us to go there with him to meet one of the Ascended Masters. So we followed him there. There were 8 of us, and we went up to the parking area at the foot of the mountain. And then he was very old, so he couldn't go up there anymore to walk up there. But he pointed out the path, the trail that we should take to get. And he said, just follow that till you get to the top. So we started walking through the woods and everything. Then we got above the tree line to a place that's I've been told is called Panther Meadow, and just short of the top of Mount Shasta, the peak. And there was an outcropping of rocks and a spring of water there. And so we decided to sit down by the rocks and get a cool drink of water. And all of a sudden, there was just a golden ray of light with like twinkling stardust or something in the ray. And a woman materialized within this golden light.
Ooh.
She was wearing a white jumpsuit, and she had gold braid on the collar and on the cuffs. And she told us not to be afraid. Her name was Lady Ankara, and she was there to answer our questions about flying saucers. So we were just, startled, really just totally taken aback. And she explained that we were standing in a bilocation signal connecting us with a planet, a super Earth called Balaton in the Sirius star system, and that we were simultaneously on Mount Shasta and up on Balaton at the same time. I don't understand it, but she said to look to the side of the mountain, and you will see these large mantids, like praying mantises, from 5 to 15 feet. There was a countless number of them just going up and down the side of the mountain, the ridge, by the edge of the tree line. And she said this is the indigenous species that inhabits Balaton, and they're the ones that can open and close the stargates. And she explained that it's a planet that welcomes colonists from all the planets of the Confederation of Planets. Galactic Confederation of Planets is 601 planets in 51 solar systems, and that the Sirius star sector was an incubator for new worlds that are being created and populated, and so forth. So they live very simply. They live in these long log houses, and it's matriarchal society. And the women communicate with the mantids. They put their left hand on the head of the mantids and ask them whatever questions they need to get answered, and they can also travel through these stargates, because the mantids can open and close the stargates, and these are connecting with other solar systems and other planets through tunnels of light that the Egyptians called them fluoses. And so she explained all that, and that's how she got there, to Mount Shasta. And I mean, it was just really amazing. She was there for 3 hours, and then she said that the Stargate was closing, and she had to get back to, this is a Venusian colony on Sirius, and she had to get back there before it closed. And so Kay Studstrup, who is the leader of the group, the local group, we met in her house in Murray, Utah, and she asked Lady Ankara if she could take a picture of her, and Lady Ankara said, yes, you could do that. And then this is before the internet and everything. This still 1987, is still an analog civilization. So on Earth. So anyway, we hurried back to Salt Lake City, and then to a 1 hour photo mat in Murray, Utah, suburb, to get the picture developed. And then when it was developed, we couldn't see her in the picture. We were all standing around in a circle, but Lady Ankara couldn't be seen. And then Clayton answered our question about that phenomena in the picture. He said that her molecular structure, her vibration, was moving so fast that it couldn't be captured on the film. That it was just moving too quickly. All of her molecules were vibrating so fast, and so that was the first encounter, and of course I wrote that up in my very first book, Venus Rising: A Concise History of the Second Planet. And what we discovered, that Clayton told us, that once upon a time, when she incarnated on the Earth plane, she was a teacher and a writer, and he grew up with her in the Mount Shasta area. And this was back in the early 1900s. She later became known as Annalise Scarron. She wrote 9 books on how to get into heaven through the back door. In other words, how to be translated, literally taken off bodily from the earth and never die.
And what's the summary of that? How does one do that?
Well, it's just a matter of selection, because some people don't have to wait for the whole earth to turn into a celestial sphere. Some people, because of their attunement with the higher consciousness, integration with their higher self, integration with the Christ consciousness, they're taken up early. There's many examples in the Bible, like Enoch, for example, and then the Apostle John, where Jesus told him that he would never die, that he would remain on the earth until he physically returned himself. And so this is a process called translation, and Annalise Guerin's books tell all about it, and of course all of my books as well explain that process.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. So, I'm a little confused, and I was trying to do some maths. You told us that you spent 2.5 months living on Venus, but you also said to someone at Mount Shasta that the months are a different length than they are on Earth. And I got very muddled because I started looking into NASA data about what a month is on Venus and what a day is on Earth. And I'll just read it to you because it's baffling to my brain. And maybe
yes, I have to explain that. That's 2.5 months as measured by Earth time, because even a day on Venus is anywhere or about 120 Earth days long, as measured on Earth by Earth time.
It's one Earth day. Yeah. So one Venus year is 225 days. The whole thing is just very confusing. One day on Venus is 243 Earth days.
Yes. So a complete diurnal cycle on Venus, the 243 days, means that the day is actually longer than the year.
Yeah, it's
and the other thing is that the sun rises in the west and sets in the east on Venus, and this is all kind of haywire because long ago Venus was bombarded by rogue asteroids, and this severely slowed the rotation of the planet down and forced the civilization to go underground.
Right. Okay. So 2.5 Earth months you've spent on Venus. Okay. How did you get to Venus, and how long did it take to get there?
It took 3 days, and it would take less time, except for the fact that they can't engage a hyperdrive inside the confines of the solar system. There's too much clutter and so forth in the solar system that they could run into. It would be too dangerous. So they have to go there with under more conventional type of drive.
What sort of do you know how their spaceships work?
Yes. They have different kinds of craft, and it depends on which one they're utilizing. As a more personal conveyance, they have these orbs that can travel within planets and in short ranges outside of a mothership. Then they have scout craft. These are about 50 feet in diameter. They operate with along the electromagnetic lines of force from the mothership or from the planet that they're operating in the atmosphere of. Then you have a larger type of patrol craft, which is 99 feet in diameter across. They operate the same way as the scout craft. They have condensers or accumulators like batteries that store energy from the electromagnetic field. And so they can operate independently in space, but only for a short time. And then you have the motherships or carrier ships, the huge cigar-shaped craft that travel between the planets. And then you have a small kind of like a probe that can be anywhere from a few inches to a foot across. And these are sent out to do recon of areas where they're going to send personnel on the ground to scout out the area. They can read the intentions and gauge the intentions of the people in the area that they're going to go to see if it's safe. And so you have these little drones, and that's all the different kinds of craft that we see and report as UFOs.
So when we had that cigar-shaped ship, which NASA reported, I forget the name of it. It was a Hawaiian name. Was that Venusian? And do you remember the one I'm talking about?
No, that was a rogue vessel coming in from another solar system. And so in the Confederation of Light, within the galaxy, there's 51 solar systems and 601 planetary members. But you know, Antonia, that the universe is a very big place.
Yeah.
And so there are countless alliances and federations and confederations and star groupings that are out there, just like on Earth. You know, we have NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. We have the United Nations. We have the Organization of American States. We have all these groupings. So we have planets that are frequently members of several of these bodies. But the reason the Venusians are in a confederation is because there are other extraterrestrials besides humanoids, and these are described in detail in my book, Lady Columba, Venus Revelations, with Columba Krebs and her original drawings of on board the space platform Leviathan rising from the moon, the far side of the moon, and the moon base Clarion. There's like Ganesha beings, hybrid bee people, blue avians. She did all these drawings and reportings back in the 1950s, late 1950s, and I have all of her notes and published that in the book Lady Columba, Venus Revelations. And Terry Springs from Las Vegas Television, CBS affiliate, the weather lady, she did the narration. So the book Lady Columba, Venus Revelations, also available on Audible books,
nice.
on Kindle.
So, okay, so I'm still trying to work out how you actually got to Venus. So did the ship land to pick you up, or did you go on one of the blue orbs before you went on the shuttle across?
Yes. Yes, we took a blue orb. I was living in China, in Wuxi, China, teaching at an international school, and the semester was out. And I had met a friend who had previously introduced herself as a Venusian and offered to take me there to the ceremony. And so we met up on the rooftop of the apartment where I was living, flew across in an orb, a translucent orb, across the Tibetan plateau, heading west across China into Tibet. And we landed at a Namso Lake near a monastery on an island. And all these other orbs were coming in to rendezvous with the mothership. And we took off for Venus from there.
Okay, so you were in your own individual orb. So it's sort of, how does it look? So it just sort of comes to you like a bubble, and then you step inside it. What's the process?
Yes. Well, my Venusian friend was the one who was piloting it, and it is a bubble. It's about 12 feet across. You just step into it, and it has like a molded chair in there, so it's rather comfortable.
And then that just sort of, does that go? Oh, I suppose you didn't need to go through walls, but assumingly that can go through walls and.
Oh yes, yes.
Mm.
It can do many things, and it is frequently reported, uh, probably more often than the saucer-shaped objects. The orbs are reported in the vicinity of areas where there's a lot of Venusian activity, safe houses, and activity that's going on in different, and all the countries of the world. There are Venusians and other extraterrestrials living and working among us. You know, the in the Bible it talks about otherworldly beings, describing them as angels.
Mm.
And then in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 2, it says that we should always be kind to one another, for you don't know ye not that ye entertain angels unawares. So one of the reasons for writing my book, The Real Resident Aliens, was to focus on this aspect that we don't have to go billions of miles out into space to find extraterrestrials, because they're right here living and working among us. And this has been verified.
We'll get to that in a minute. I just want to find out more about your Venusian thing, and then we'll talk all about how they're living among us towards the end, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
I'm really excited to talk about that, but I've got loads of burning questions I want to know, and then I want to go on to that if you're happy to. Okay. Okay. So, who did you encounter on your way to Venus?
Okay, this was a friend that I had met before, and I have pictures of her with myself in my Venus books. On Earth, the last time that she was encountered, she was known as Dolores Barrios. There's a picture of her that's been circulating for a while, of appearing at a UFO conference held outside of Mount Palomar in California on the 8th and 9th of August of 1954. And at that time, she came there with two gentlemen, and they immediately identified her as being a Venusian, because she looked like a painting of a Venusian that George Adamski had brought there to the Skyline Lodge where they were holding the conference. It was in the hallway, so that they were chasing after her, and they wanted to, ask her all these questions, and she said, yes, there's life on Venus, and so forth. But it was becoming oppressive, because they kept crowding her and hassling her and her friends. So she ran down the hill, going down the parking lot to off the edge of the parking lot, and then all these people were following her and scurrying after her, like paparazzi do. And a swarm of bees came and held the people back. Then a flying saucer came down and lifted them up.
Oh my goodness!
And all the details of that I have in my first book, The Venus Rising. And then so I have other pictures of her with myself at different time periods, in the 1970s and 2013 and other times. And I'm always getting older, but she's always stays the same.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Well, I've hacked that one. I'm getting younger. So I actually get younger than I did 3 years ago. Interestingly, I'm getting like progressively younger because I've worked on some of these things and hacked reverse aging, which is fun. Okay, so how do the Venusians communicate? Are they telepathic? Are they using words? How does it work?
Yes, they're telepathic, and many of the members of the Confederation are telepathic. They've developed the powers that are latent within them. Of course, we haven't. Some of us have. Some of us have telepathy, and we can tap into other powers, tele, telekinesis, psychometry, these kind of things.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes people will ask me things, and if I'm in the mood, I'll do something like psychometry. I'll tell them to give me something that's been close to them for a while, and then all then I have like a mental image I can see projected in my mind, things that happen or will happen to that person. And so this is some mental telepathy or extrasensory perception is common to Venusians and other and even star seeds here on Earth. Once they
Mm.
become aware and become activated to their true potential, and it's not necessary to even use words because you have a mental depiction like over your third eye, and you're seeing everything, and just you just understand what's going on. You don't even need words to figure it out. It's really amazing. My friend Omnek Onek and I could communicate through mental telepathy.
Amazing. So, what am I asking now? So, have you ever had any run ins with the government? You live fairly close to Washington, D.C. You are hanging out on Venus and with Venusians. Has anyone ever come to you, Men in Black sort of style?
Well, no Men in Black, but I would have to say that as a veteran, a military veteran, um, and a patriotic American, if they asked for my help, I would give it to them.
Yes, but I mean, so nothing. Well, I mean, so nothing
Well,
scary's happened to you. They haven't come to you and in any nefarious way at all.
not that not that I'm aware of, or that it was anything to do with the
Hmm.
government.
Okay, so what do you eat on Venus?
Well, on Venus, they have the privilege of being a member of the planet interplanetary confederation, so they do have a kind of cosmic exchange of of plants, fruits and vegetables from many different worlds, and and then they've also shared various plants and um, and even insects with other worlds, including the Earth.
So, did you eat anything particularly weird or wonderful whilst you were there?
Oh yeah, there's a whole mixture of fruits. There's a kind of a purplish fruit that's sort of like a solid kind of grape, and it makes like a great smoothie. I really like it.
Wow. And what do the Venusians do for entertainment? What's
Well, for
that?
entertainment, they're very dynamic and cross cultural across worlds and species. But they do, being the closest planet in proximity to the Earth. We're the sister planet of Venus,
Hmm.
and our planet Gaia. So they do enjoy coming here. They go on. They do enjoy our music, our movies, our culture, and they especially um, uh, they do like the 50s and the 80s, maybe because I do, and I just sense that they like it, that they like it too.
So, do we think there's going to be some disclosure? Because I know that NASA are now bringing out articles saying that they found ammonia on Venus and that there's potential, there's been an industrial process there, nitrogen converting bacteria, which equals life.
Oh
So,
yes, this
close
is
to disclosure, what's going on with all of that?
well, Antonia. This is very exciting, and the woman, the scientist in the United Kingdom that discovered the phosphenes in the Venusian atmosphere that
Mm.
were indicative of life. I was very happy to see that she posted a picture of my book, Venus Rising, on her website.
Oh, nice.
From I think that's the Royal Astronomical Society, and so I was excited about that. And yes, a lot of things that we as contactees and we're talking about so long ago are now being vindicated.
Mm.
Not only with Venus, but also with the moon and other planets. Uh, with the moon, for example, they've discovered water on the moon, and there's a there's a frozen lake the size of Puerto Rico that's at the south pole of the moon. They've also discovered that the moon has a slight atmosphere
Ooh.
because when meteorites are seen approaching the moon, they're burning up before they hit the ground. That means that there's friction, in with an atmosphere, and so many spires and unusual structures, domes that have been photographed on the moon, the front and the back side, all the probes that have been sent to the moon since 1959, and the Ranger probe and everything. So we know that the time of disclosure, ultimate UFO disclosure or UAP, is coming soon.
When
Now,
do we think that's going to come?
well, this is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
Is that well, I have to tell you that a poll was taken slightly before the 25th of June 2021 and the congressional hearings on unidentified aerial phenomena or UAP. Before those disclosures, when they said there's a definite technology behind these objects, but they weren't ready to say that they were from another planet. But they asked Americans in this poll, if you believe UFOs are really extraterrestrial vehicles, or some of them are extraterrestrial vehicles, or vehicles from some other realm or some other dimension, 80% of Americans in this poll agreed that's the case. And 50% have seen them. And get this, 15%. So of the population of the United States of 300 million people, that means 45 million Americans have had contact. They say they've had contact at one level or another, psychically, spiritually, physically, with
Mm.
extraterrestrials or ultra dimensionals. And many who identify now as star seeds recognize prior incarnations on other worlds and are coming to realize their mission of being born on the earth now is to prepare this world for its entry into a galactic confederation as the 602nd planetary member.
Oh, that would be
So,
amazing, wouldn't
so when
it?
the disclosure comes from the government of the United States or other major governments of the world like the United Kingdom, it's going to be more of an afterthought because people have had their own experiences with ETs. What do they need the government to tell them that extraterrestrials and UFOs are real when they've had their own experiences? So
Mhm.
this is another reason why I felt that that my book, The
Yeah.
Real
I'm
Resume.
looking forward to talking about it in a minute. I've got it too. I'm ready to go.
Oh,
I just
okay.
get through your experience from Venus, and then we can talk about this. I'm very excited. Okay, so when we were at Mount Shasta, you were talking about reverse aging or being taken up to Venus. What's all that about?
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I was talking about Annalise Guerin and others who had been taken to Venus. They realized that they had originally incarnated on the Earth, coming from Venus for the purpose of being avatars or teachers. Once they came to that realization, and they were granted empowerment of their mission by knowing that when they successfully completed it, that they could go home to Venus in their physical body and have it renewed. And I had the documentation from Annabelle Krebs, or Columba Krebs, Lady Columba, and she did artwork in the Venus Revelations book, where she shows a body of a 90-year-old woman, 90-plus-year-old woman, and her consciousness was taken out of it, and then stem cells and DNA were used to reconstruct a new body, and then the consciousness was downloaded back into the new body. And then I have pictures of her walking around as a teenager, and compare that with pictures of her in the year 1918 when she was living in a boarding house in New York with her mother and her sister, and they're exactly identical, the pictures.
That's interesting. And I've hacked my reverse aging, and it is interesting because every so often I'm just like, hang on a minute, those lines have gone down. What's going on? It's absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt this, Antonia, and like Annalise Guerin, before she got taken up to Venus, before she became a translated being, her friend and my mentor Clayton Parker, she showed him her new teeth. She didn't have any teeth, and then she was suddenly growing a new set of teeth.
Wow.
Right before she got taken up.
Wow. That's interesting, isn't it? Goodness. What was the purpose of your visit to Venus?
Well, my purpose was to serve as the Venus historian. I had been involved in ufology since the 1960s, publishing the Flying Saucer Report, meeting with all the world's leading ufologists, and writing many articles and so forth, and collecting a massive archive about UFOs and contactees, that I have the whole story. And maybe as the last of the old style contactees, having gotten a degree, doctoral degree in history from West Virginia University, that they felt, who better to continue the work and to write down the true history of Venus and our relationships on the Earth with the planet Venus. So in 1887, in the United Kingdom, Helena Blavatsky wrote a small book, an essay called History of a Planet. That was the first thing that she wrote after coming back from 2 trips to the Himalayas. On the first trip, she didn't make it only about halfway up through India from Madras, the headquarters of the Theosophical Society, international headquarters. But the second time, she made it there into the Himalayas and conversed with the ascended masters there. And then when she came back to the United Kingdom, she wrote this essay called History of a Planet, which planet she described as the most mysterious, powerful, and occult of all worlds. And what planet was that? That was Venus.
Ooh.
So I decided, as a member of the Theosophical Society myself since my youth, that it was time to update Helena Blavatsky's History of a Planet. And that's why we have
Venus rising.
a concise history of the second planet.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's like it's a big, massive book. It's got color illustrations in it, and it's got 312 pages of information. Anything you could think of that you've ever wanted to know about Venus, but were afraid to ask.
It's all in there, is it?
It's in this book. So as the Venus historian, that's why I'm here. And I had that confirmed to me in 2014.
Wow.
When I was in the Veterans Hospital. And I had quadruple bypass surgery. Yeah, they actually had to take my heart out of my chest. They put it on the table and were working on it and hooked me up to artificial life support. And I was there for artificial life support for 8.5 hours. And while I was there, I had a, I guess you'd call it a near-death experience. I was in a circle of light high above the earth, just looking down, very dizzy in the void of space. And I was holding on to the sides of this ring of light for dear life, feeling that I was going to fall and drift off into the void of outer space. And then a being appeared to my left side, a being dressed in clothing from the ancient Roman Empire, and then like a teenage youth version of myself. And then I turned to the right and I saw the same being, but wearing different clothes from a different era. So I saw myself in 13 different incarnations, and on the earth plane. And then I realized that I was in communication with my higher self, or my oversoul. So I asked him, I said, am I dead? What's happening? And he said, I've come to give you a choice, to give you an option. He said, you could go with me and return to your home planet of Venus, or you can return to Earth and finish writing the history, the Venus rising, and finish writing all about Venus. And then I knew, I had a confirmation. That's why I'm here. And that's really important, Antonia, because the famous American writer Mark Twain once said, there's only two important moments in the life of any human being. The first one is when they were born, and the second one is
finding out why. Yeah.
Why you're here.
Yeah.
So I found out why I was here. So I said, well, if that's the only thing that's keeping me from going on to yet higher celestial realms, why don't I just go back to Earth and finish what I came here to in the first place? So that's why I wrote this Venus rising.
Amazing. So we did a bit of healing on you whilst you were in Mount Shasta. I'm excited to know the results. What happened and how are you feeling?
Oh, it was very exciting because I haven't had any problems since, and in fact, I've lost a lot of weight. I'm down to 190 pounds. When you saw me there, I think I was probably slightly over 200. So I've lost at least 12 pounds since then.
How's your blood sugar then? Are you still having issues, or what's going on? How's your pancreas?
My blood sugar is stable. It's hasn't gone above 200, so that's good.
But you're feeling better and stronger.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much, and also thank you on behalf of all the other people that were there on that balcony. That
Yeah, they all got a blast of energy.
they all got a.
Yeah, so you're doing better than you were. So it's definitely helped. Is it still a problem? Have you still got issues, or are you?
No, I'm very excited. I went to I went to Germany. I went to Canada. Drove up to Canada with a friend from the Mutual UFO Network. We're arranging a conference up there in Sudbury, Ontario. I went down to Wytheville, Virginia, and did a conference, and just got back from Danville, West Virginia, and I was there with Dreama Denver. She's the wife of the late Bob Denver, who played Gilligan on Gilligan's Island.
Nice.
Yeah, she wrote some books with Headline Books. It's also my publisher, and so we were sitting there sharing stories, and there's a picture of us on Facebook.
Nice. Okay, so let's get to it. Tell me all about your new information from your book, The Resident Alien. Aliens living among us. Are you sure? How do we identify them? What are they doing? Tell me all about it.
Well, in the Old Testament, in the Bible, angels would come down to Earth, and they would appear as humans. Of course, they were supernatural beings with supernatural powers and so forth, but they appeared as human beings when they were here on the Earth. So this is nothing new. There were 3 that came and sat with Abraham and so forth, and this has been going on since really the beginning of recorded history. So it's more than just a conspiracy theory that aliens live and work among us. Recently, Harman from Israel, the space authority in Israel, he had said that there are members of a galactic confederation that are here on the Earth, living and working among us. And this is also what Paul Hellyer, the late defense minister in Canada during the Pearson administration there from 1963 to 68, he was the NATO liaison as well. And he said that he knew for a fact that there were at least 80 species of extraterrestrials living and working among us here on Earth. And of course, this is what George Adamski, Howard Menger, Truman Bethlehem, and all these contactees has been telling us all along, that there are aliens that live and work among us. And you've probably, and many of the listeners, if you haven't had outright contact with them, which I'm sure many have, but everybody has probably been in contact with these beings unawares, because they could be anywhere, working next to you, or be your next door neighbor. And so that's what the Real Resident Aliens is about. When I saw that TV show, The Resident Alien with John Tudyk, now it's going to be going in its 4th season. And I said, well, this is on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it's being presented as fiction. But they don't realize just how close to the truth,
Maybe they do.
that this is. And I said, a book needs to be written about the real resident aliens, not just the fictional
So
one.
these are more than star seeds, assumedly. These are actually beings who grew up on various 80 different planets or solar systems, different places entirely, who have come here on a mission to sort of Star Trek observe us and, not break the Prime Directive and not disclosing who they are, and
Yes.
sitting there, and we're a science experiment for them, are we?
You're right, Antonia. Many, many stories in the book about such aliens and the planets that they came from, how those planets are different from the Earth, why they are here, what they're teaching us, what their experiences were, and so forth. It's a very interesting book. It's not all. I would say all of my books are not your typical UFO book. Most of the UFO books you see are about some lights in the sky or something. But my books are about relationships between extraterrestrials and human beings, and where that's taking us as a species, and what that signifies for us in our times, in our places here on Earth. So they're very engaging and interesting books.
So I mean, what was the book? So something at the Pentagon. What was it called?
Stranger in the Pentagon.
Stranger in the Pentagon, which was that Valiant Thor, who was the Venusian?
That was Valiant Thor, yes. And
yes,
that's interesting because I have all the original pictures, including the people from Lee Munsick's New Jersey Flying Saucer Club that went there to that interesting meeting on Howard Menger's farm, where Valiant Thor and Jill and Don Thor and Tanya and all the crew showed up that day, including their testimonies. One of the Tharp sisters said that they saw Valiant Thor jump over a 15-foot fence by the apple orchard at Howard Menger's farm, and his younger son saw a mothership, and they had a meeting that night and talked about it. And so all the files of Valiant Thor, and also Dr. Frank Strange's and the NICUFO group, National Investigations Committee on UFOs. I've published all of these in a series of 39 parts with Lon Strickler's Phantoms and Monsters website. And then many of the photos are also with Jeff Rentz's site on renz.com. And you could see all these photos for yourself and judge the reality of the Valiant Thor story, the legend of Valiant Thor.
Legend of Valiant Thor. Now, Ray, did you tell me you have some pictures to show us? A bit of show and tell to do?
Oh yeah. I have some of the pictures here from the real resident aliens, and let's see if I can bring those up. Okay.
Let's find out. It's a very fascinating interview, isn't it? So if anyone who's watching wants to know more about the tales from Ray, then let us know in the comments. And if we have some good questions, maybe we'll have another interview with Ray. So let us know down below if you would, what else you'd like to know. It's such a fascinating subject. And he is a wealth of information and knowledge. Absolutely. How's it going, Ray? Technical things is fun. Recording is live. You never know what's going to happen and how it's going to work out.
Let's see if I can pull this up.
Absolutely fascinating that he's spent time living on the planet Venus, 2.5 months. And he's got lots of friends who are from Venus. My goodness, friends from Venus. Yeah, you've got Venusian friends, don't you?
Yes. Well, I'm having a difficult time bringing this file up where it says present, is that what I click?
We can pause for a second. Let's give it a pause and we'll get that sorted out back in a tick.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. We are having technical issues and not able to provide you with pictures. The good news is that we're going to do a future interview with the pictures and your questions. So we are winning. I like it when everybody wins, and that's one of those situations. So, Ray, tell us what you'd like to share.
Oh, yes. So it was the science fiction show, Resident Alien, on the Sci-Fi Channel that inspired me to write about the real resident aliens. And the first question that comes up regarding aliens that live and work among us is that, are they all good or are there some bad ones? And when I go back to what Paul Hellyer said on Russian television, the Canadian defense minister, he said that most of the extraterrestrials that are here have good intentions toward us, but there are a few rogue species. So we have the Zetas, the Zeta Reticuli, and then the Greys, and then also the reptilians from Orion and Alpha Draconis and so forth. So I also write about these aliens and some of their nefarious activities on the Earth.
Give us a story about something nefarious some of these ETs have done.
Okay, well, one of them involves the destruction of some of our rockets at NASA bases or down in Guyana with the European space program. And then here's a recent one where a SpaceX was blown up on the launch pad, and you could see the UFO in the background. So all the details are in there. And interestingly enough, as I was writing about them, about these bad ETs, I found that George Hunt Williamson, who was one of the first astroarchaeologists, in a 1951 book, Other Tongues, Other Flesh, he wrote the second to last chapter, the penultimate chapter, was called The Intruders. And it was about the beings from Orion and their activities working against humankind since the beginning of recorded history. And he mentions references in the Bible to the Orion and extraterrestrials, and he prophesied that throughout the 1950s would be a peaceful time, but beginning in the early 1960s, more nefarious ETs would show up and begin a process of abducting people, which is really what happened, because in the 50s you had all the contactees with the Venusians and everything, Howard Menger and George Adamski and so forth. And then in 1961, you have the Betty and Barney Hill case. That involved the Zetas, and that was one of the first documented cases of abduction by aliens. Dr. Benjamin Simon, a psychologist from New England, put the Hills under hypnosis, and they produced an accurate star map and a frightening account of being terrorized and abducted by aliens. And that was the whole start of the turnover from the friendly contactees to these to these abductees. So I explore that kind of thing
in the book,
in the book as well. And then non-humanoid types of extraterrestrials. There's a case in Erie, Pennsylvania, where there was a giant shadow being on the beach associated with a UFO.
Mm.
Erie, Pennsylvania, Presque Isle Beach. Um, aliens and as their influence in Hollywood, and Hollywood, of course, is the soft disclosure. And it's very interesting because a lot of movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, uh, the technical consultant to that movie was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who served as for over 21 years. He was the official Air Force consultant on UFOs, and he was a consultant and technical expertise behind the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Wow.
And all kind of things that were in that movie were reflected in real life, and then in archaeology and so forth, aliens being on Earth, the arrival of aliens back in the Neolithic age as
I'm really interested. I think that's for another podcast, though. I want to go into the Neolithic, the old stuff, the ancient aliens, as it were. Yeah, I've got lots of questions on that as well, but I think that's for a different show because that's a huge subject in and of itself, I think.
Oh yes, I mean the whole thing could be, and the bloodlines, the connection with human bloodlines, particularly the Rh negative factor and that kind of thing. It's all in the book. It's star seeds, the whole thing. And so if if you've ever been curious about the aliens that live among us, and you've always suspected that it's more than just another conspiracy theory, then please get my book.
Okay, so tell me about what does Venus hold for our future?
Okay, Venus is a beacon that we can look to. They've been where we've been before. They fought a war on their planet to overcome AI and to simplify their technology so they could regain mastery of their world and their destiny. Their history is much longer than ours, but they began long ago in a star system.
Galaxy far, far away.
Yes, it was a star that we call Tau Ceti, and they lived on a planet that orbited it called Norca. And as Tau Ceti began to expand, becoming a larger orange star, then it was beginning to encompass their world, to take their world in and turn it into a vast desert. So they built space arcs and they traveled across the vastness of space and arrived at Venus and Mars in our solar system. And so they've gone through a lot of things that we have, being a civilization at least 1 billion years older than our own. And so we have much to learn from them. But the important thing, though, Antonia, is not so much that we believe in them, but we've got to start believing in ourselves. Otherwise, we won't have a history. We won't have a history and a story to recount. We'll just be a burning, smoldering cinder in outer space. So it's that's one important message right there, to learn, allow the Venusians to teach us, to guide us in a better way to go, to promote the unity of humankind, that we realize, hey, we're part of a greater galactic community. We're something special. We really are.
Yeah.
We're not just the muck and slime that emerged out of some cesspool that got struck by lightning billions of years ago. But we're here for a purpose, and we're actually divine beings. We're created just a little less than the angels, but we can get there.
So I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Okay. Then the second thing is to appreciate the value of learning. uh, we have to keep our mind alert to acquiring new knowledge wherever we find it, and broadening our areas of interest, because this is something that promotes peace and understanding, and the advancement of the Earth as a planet, and the advancement of Earthlings as a species. So
Mm.
the incorporation of all new knowledge. But we have to be careful, because as we acquire new knowledge, knowledge in itself is a neutral thing. But how we're going to apply this is the important issue, because like atomic energy, we can power cities with it, and transportation systems, and rocket ships, and we could have just a fantastic Star Trek future with it, or we could destroy ourselves with it, with hatred and blind distrust of it, of one another, and jealousy and antagonisms. So it's how we apply that knowledge. Here on the earth, we've had high civilizations come and go before.
Mm.
Lemuria, Atlantis, um, they developed technologies that even rival the ETs, crystalline technology and so forth. But they turned it into weapons instead of energy sources and a productive force in society. So we're lucky that we survived that.
Just
So
about
yeah,
most, well, a few people without any of our technology.
so
So,
knowledge is important, but we have to apply it in the right directions. And then lastly is we're talking about before, we have at least 22 kind of powers, extrasensory powers that we haven't developed yet. But the
ooh,
Venusians and the other ETs have developed them, and telepathy, that they can communicate not only cross culturally, but across species,
wow.
communicate with other species, insects and other mammals and things, and and so this is important as being part of the galactic community. So when we start to do these things and move in these more positive directions, then we'll be welcomed into this greater galactic community. But we have quite a ways to go,
Yeah.
and but part of the way is to prepare ourselves is read books like well, I just hype my own book, I guess. Read books like mine, and watch programs uh, like yours, Antonia, and
Yeah.
broaden
Learn more.
broaden people's consciousness and awareness. Um,
They can buy my book too.
yeah, and buy your book. So I mean, yeah, this is very important, and know that you're not alone out there. That if you suspect you're a star seed, or you're interested in UFOs and metaphysical subjects, that you're probably in your last incarnation. You're here as an avatar. You're here to teach and help others before you go home to a brighter and more beautiful celestial realm, one way or another. So this is the message from the Venusians, and I hope that people will um, uh, take it in.
Wonderful. So, Ray, have you got any final words of wisdom, please?
Yes, I think that of all the forces in the world and in the universe, that kindness is the key to to everything. Because when you act kindly one to another, you're motivated by love,
Mm.
and this is by far the if you want to get off the earth and even be translated like Annalise Guerin or Enoch of old, uh, the best way to start is just with random acts of kindness. So that's my message
Beautiful.
of my parting message.
That's beautiful. I have that. I have that. So if you, I have a phrase that rings in my head. If you have the opportunity to be kind, take it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, Ray, thank you so much. We'll have to do it again. I want to know all about the ancient aliens and more of your experiences. And once again, anyone watching at home, please let me know any questions you have for Ray and just comment below, and we will get him back on and we will answer your burning questions.
Oh, Antonia,
amazing man.
a couple of years ago, I was in Glastonbury at the chapel there doing a presentation. That was my first time in the United Kingdom, but I hope to get back there and maybe see you when I do.
Come and see me and come and record live. I've got beautiful sea views. So I'm in Cornwall, which is about 2 hours from Glastonbury. Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, Ray. And thank you everybody at home for watching, and see you again.
Thank you, my friends.